Good morning, and thanks again for joining us. It's Thursday. I believe it's been a pleasant week, and many of us are just praying that we finish hard and take some good rest over the weekend. This morning, I'm not going to waste much time before I bring to you Obobia Dakon. The message is tough. Listen.
Good morning. My name is Obobia Dakon, and I'm here with Pause for 3 minutes. Today, let's talk about something that is killing many relationships and marriages, but some have chosen to pretend about it. Others do not want to talk about it. Are you still in love with your ex? You were obviously not expecting that. I know. But let's talk some more about this. Send me a Facebook message and share your experience, if any, with me. The truth is, it is not impossible to remain in love with a former girlfriend or boyfriend, wife or husband. It is actually happening in many homes and relationships. The problem is that it is also killing the joy, love, and fun of many relationships and marriages. Have you been compelled to ask yourself once or twice or many times whether your relationship will work because your partner hasn't forgotten or gone over his or her ex? In fact, you are lucky when you find out that is the situation. It is worse when problems arise always and you can't put a finger on it because he or she is secretly comparing you to the ex. In other instances, you are always finding faults. You aren't opening up to romance and good times, and it is all because you are more into your ex than your current partner or spouse. We all have our moments where we may recall or think of our ex from time to time. But you would surely have problems if you are still at the point where you cannot or haven't let go of what was then. Please do not lead your marriage or relationship onto the road of destruction. You must let the past stay in the past before getting into a new relationship. Why would you want to jump into a new relationship when you are not fully healed from the previous one? There are also some people who enter into new relationships to distract themselves. At least that is what they think, from the damage they refuse to deal with from the last breakup. That is not the best solution. Let me tell you something. You must be careful if your partner has an ex that is still pretty much a key part of his or her life. There are very few situations where either of them can handle that relationship in a manner that it will not bring the new relationship or marriage problems. What must you do? Don't just be a worried partner. If you see any disturbing signs that your partner is still hanging on to an ex, don't panic and don't be afraid to ask questions. Just as one of my favorite songs, Chocho Mucho by Bless says, Yeshia ye encheye, woda super wo exa and ferry kachremi, when so ne ferry and sing. Talk to your partner. Find out where the relationship stands. Find out what he or she desires and which is missing. Take quick corrective measures. As the new partner in this person's life, you should come first. But it will not come by shouting, yelling, accusations, and finding faults. Don't be a victim to such people if they won't let go. Thank you. Pause for 3 minutes is sponsored by FlexiPay. Endless possibilities.
Welcome back. I told you that today's message is powerful. Your ex, Abna, how many of them have you been speaking to?
I don't remember any of them.
Wow. You walk away painfully?
Yeah, not painfully, but if we are done, we are done.
Oh.
Actually, when we are done, we are done. How many of your exes do you talk to?
Don't
sit on national television.
65 of them.
Okay, so
you see that I've shut you up.
No,
65 their doors you do.
I know, sir. It's not impossible, you know.
65 their place.
It's not impossible.
65
so if you add all the flings and things, it's probably more than 65.
No, but the message has a lot of things there, because I ask myself, if you were my ex, and then we even separated painfully, and then I see you or you see me in a situation where you can help, what stops you? Why would you walk away with hatred and worry yourself?
Now, it's not about walking away with hatred. I think there are lots of times where people, because they didn't really give the relationship a chance, so maybe it was one offense and they just walked away. Sometimes when they move on, they start thinking, oh, what if I had given it another chance? What if this? What if that? That is, I think that's what the problem is.
As what's it, Gentia Dada? What can then you can say?
Yeah, it's the same. Gentia Dada. Yeah. I'm saying so night. Me so cool.
I wish I can say it.
Yeah, but I mean, this is on the lighter side, as you say. This morning I saw a video that I actually made me tear up. So there are some women in Saudi Arabia asking that President Akufo-Addo or Ghanaians help them come back home, because they were met with very harsh conditions when they got there. A lot of them, their bosses slept with them or want to sleep with them. They've subjected them to sexual harassment. And they've been going to the Ghanaian embassy, but they tell them they can't do anything about their situation because their contract hasn't ended, etc. And so they are hiding in a small room, and it has about 25 women. One of them is critically ill and can't even move. So what they've done is they've covered their faces and they are crying, asking that the president or if Ghanaians can help them out.
I'm taking the emotional aspect out. Government has a responsibility. I believe government will listen to their crime.
I hope the video gets to him, actually.
How did they get there?
I mean, you know the Saudi Arabia incident.
This is not the first time the public has been alerted, the women, the young girls especially, that people will lure you to some of those areas. And the stories you are talking about today, we have heard it several times. So the question is, if you knew, why would you go there? In fact, I'm told that in Saudi Arabia or some of those Arabian countries, some of those very rich people don't even mind watching a dog, his dog, have sex with some of these young women they see as slaves. So that's how serious it is. And if we are going after, for example, this morning, NCA is going after TV stations which don't have license. All these actions by NCA is a result of the public outcry after the Kaswa incident. So I'm sure that government has adequately given information out over the years that some of these people are only exploiting you and they are taking advantage of your needs or your challenges to put you into what they call trafficking. And it is happening. So when you get there and you go through the abuse and you turn around and you make it look like a certain government is irresponsible because you are there, it becomes a different matter.
I'm only saying that's not the scenario that's being created.
To the unsuspecting people who may not know.
See, sometimes it's about who comes to talk to you, you know, with regards to this deal. I mean, yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine from the US and he wants nurses because he has a contract with one of the states and all that. So imagine I know a nurse and I come to you and say that, okay, this is a deal on the table. It will give you this, it will give you that. You will go because you trust me and I trust the person who spoke to me. So mostly this is how the channels work.
That's how it starts. They will lure you. They may start well. And it is not only the Arabian countries. You go to Canada, you go to US, you go to UK. The story is that people are still doing it. If you watch national television networks, you see people being trafficked from the Philippines or China and so on. It is a cartel. That is why you go to Nigeria and even now we have baby factories. So if they cannot exploit you, they may kidnap you, put you in that baby factory, get you impregnated. When you deliver and the baby is nice, they can keep you to deliver again. They sell your baby and dump you somewhere. And that ends it. Let's join this campaign. But I believe that if you are a young lady and somebody is trying to lure you, fine. All of us want to
because these women
travel.
Are grown-ups.
That's
not
how
just
it happens.
Young ladies.
Not just young ladies.
Yes.
I think it's a very good information you are adding. And it's very important that people know. In India, we are told that they export their human resource. Ghana does, directly or indirectly. But if there's a proper system, I believe that people then will know that the conduit they are using is as genuine as possible as you are trusting in your friend in the US.
Exactly.
Well, we have the newspapers. Daily Dispatch on its front page says 85% of last batch of 40 ministers are MPs. I see Hassan Tampoli, I see Ejapa Mesa, Abana Osei Asari, and Amankwa Menu, who is going to the Defense Ministry as deputy. So that's how the Daily Dispatch captures the last list, as it put it, ministers who have been appointed by Nana Akufo-Addo. Then we have the Ghanaian Times front page, same story. I see a good friend of mine, Herbert Krapper, going to the Trade and Industry Ministry. Evans Opoku Bobie, Youth and Sports. Fatima Abubakar, Information. Bright Reko Brobe, Employment and Labor Relations. And Amidu Ishahaku Chinia, who is Sanitation and Water Resources Deputy Minister, if he is approved by Parliament. And it says President nominates 39 Deputy Ministers to serve in second term of government. And of course, one name that has been running around the media circles, Mark Okreku Mante, Tourism, Arts and Culture. So that's it on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
I trust Mark. He will do a good job.
Yes.
I trust him.
Is it because he's handsome?
No, because he's good. I mean, because I'm the secretary for the Screen Actors Guild, so I get to work with him closely, and I know
so
how.
So you can give testimony about how hardworking he is.
I call him Mr. Capable.
So that's why you are dressed like this today.
Yes. All right, so I'll start with the Daily Graphic. Now, the banner story has to do with 49 TV stations that have been shut down, causing the arrest of Nana Agrada, as we all know her. Also, President names deputy ministers designate, as Eric just stated. Now, police swoop on criminal dens as well. On the back page, it says that 7,000 children start malaria vaccination in German South, whereas minister hands over farm facilities to communities. Now, on the front page of the Daily Guide, should I do Daily Guide or
yes, you can?
Okay, so again, it talks about Nana Agrada. That's actually the bonus story, being arrested over Sika Gari, and also the TV shut down. Teacher kills money lender, whereas the Captain Polo has made bail and she has been asked to pay
and I see
80.
The Agrada woman. Can you show the paper
Yes.
to the camera so that people see her? And we
She's
have
quite
the list.
beautiful, though.
We have the list. I don't know what.
Yeah, the 49 stations here.
Yes,
They are here. The list is
we
here.
have it. You can go through, but
The list
it
is
will
here.
appear on the screen, I guess, if our back supporters.
Yeah,
really
so
put
it's
it
on the
there. So it's on
screen.
the screen. So you
Yeah,
see
okay,
the
so-
list on the screen.
Well, I'll read from here. So there's what is it? Ice One TV. That's Thunder Television Limited. Also Ezra TV. There's Truth TV, Royal Star TV, Virgin TV, Days TV, Sewa TV. It's not mine, please. Ion TV, and then is it what? JA1 TV.
So the list is very tall.
Yeah, it's very tall.
And there's a
49
statement
actually.
from the National Communications Authority, which was issued yesterday. It says the National Communications Authority has embarked on an exercise to shut down 49 television stations for operating without authorization. And according to the NCA, it forms part of a continuous monitoring exercise conducted on various satellite free-to-air television platforms using the Broadcast Monitoring System and Radio Spectrum Monitoring System. That is where I see the hypocrisy about the way we act, because NCA is suggesting that, oh, it's part of an ongoing exercise. It is strange that after the Kaswa incident and the attempt by some of us who may not know all the facts to immediately link it to fetishism and what these money ritualists do, and then eventually after that we have conversations about why are they still on air, why are they still on air, then we are 49 going, and now the impression we get is that the 49 going is not because of the Kaswa incident, but it is because we are doing constant monitoring. I don't know when that constant monitoring peaked to the extent that immediately we have 49 going at once. I would have thought that, so as soon as you come on air and over a period, let's say a month or two, and they assume that you are not operating appropriately, that is when they take you on. And these have been on our television channel for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I can only hope that indeed it is not because of any other reason, but
but I mean, Eric, even
right.
if it's for such reason which you mentioned, I don't think it's bad. As long as they are fishing out the bad nuts, I think that it works for me, to be honest.
Let them fish out the bad nuts. Look, I have a platform that has been shut down before. I've complained bitterly, and I've taken a certain strong posturing that I will fight till the station is back. I hope you understand me. So when I sit here and another station is shut down, and then we don't look at what is in there that we must address. I am not talking about the shutdown. I am talking about systems that perhaps sit down and assume that nothing is happening. Then they wake up one day and act to
okay, Eric,
make it look like
I see where you're going with this.
So that is
but
where
I have the Chronicle. So let me do the Chronicle. How many papers do you have?
I have only Business and Financial Times newspaper.
Okay, so let me quickly do the Chronicle. It says here, Nigerian suspects are not jailbreakers. According to the headlines, it says from Owerri Correctional Center, some claim to be newly wedded couples on wheels to Accra for honeymoon. So some of the Nigerian jailbreakers they arrested, I think we spoke about it last week or earlier this week, as claiming that they are not jailbreakers, but rather they are on honeymoon in Ghana. Also, again, Nana Agrada bastard is here, whereas police arrest Fanta Moja over Opiokuma murder as well. So you can do.
So that's it. The NDC has also issued a statement that they will never sit at IPAC meetings if it has to do with discussions on the 2020 elections. We'll tell you more about this later on this program. Wisdom Hedejoma is around to present the news at 7.
human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
I love makeup. Applying it gives me so much joy. But when it's time to take it off, nothing does the job quite like the Black Secret Makeup Wipes. When I go somewhere and I feel really sweaty, I take my Black Secret wipe and I use it on my face. It picks me up and I don't look as tired as I did when I walked in.
Before I work on a client's face, I like to go over it with Black Secret makeup wipes to make sure the face is clean. It doesn't leave the face dry and tight, but it keeps it soft and moisturized.
Wipe say your bodo. Bakope, and it gets the job done. Or baby, and the smell makes the experience even better.
It's Thursday, April 22. Good morning and many thanks for joining TVX Xyz News. Coming up in this bulletin, finally, Deputy Ministerial list out, including 10 females, 3 each for 3 ministries and 2 each for 8 ministries. Also in this bulletin, cutting water supply to part of Accra, Tema and Ashaman for the next 5 days, effected today. We shall tell you what the Tema General Hospital has been doing for that exercise. And Ghanaians elated by news about the arrest of notorious money doubler, I should say, Nana Agrada, but is this really the beginning of the clampdown on perceived chatterlands parading as money ritualists? Well, we have details of these and other stories coming up. Many thanks for your company. Let's begin the stories from the camp of the president, because he has released a tall list of another batch of appointees. Now, one as Minister of State at the Finance Ministry and 39 deputy ministers designate. Now, 9 are heading to 3 ministries as deputies, that is 3 each, and 16 others shall serve as deputy ministers for 8 ministries. Now, the list raises eyebrows about government commitment towards cutting public expenditure. Well, details are in the following report.
On 2 occasions, the leaked list of deputy ministerial nominees were described as fake. political analysts, however, maintain the president was either gauging public opinion or he was under pressure to revise the list. On the 29th of last month, Director of Communications at the Presidency, Xyz Morning, issued a similar statement urging the public to ignore the said list. His Facebook post simply read, "The president has not released any list of deputy ministers, neither has he submitted any such list to Parliament. If and when he does, you will see it here first." But it has emerged that the new list of deputy ministers is the same list that has come out twice. Now it is official. 40 names are on the new list. 39 deputy ministers designate, and only one, former Deputy Finance Minister Charles Edubuahene, has been elevated as Minister of State at the Finance Ministry if approved by Parliament. According to the list, the Energy, Local Government and Trade Ministries have 3 designated ministers each. That means 6 appointees shall deputize for the 3 ministries. They are Michael Otrebefi, Herbert Krapper, and Nana Dokuya Esiama Ajayi, all for the Ministry of Trade. Former Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, who is now MP for Karaga, has also been retained. The other 2 nominees for the Ministry of Energy are MP for Sekondi, Andrew Ejapa Mesa, and Oreku Edu. 3 deputies have also been nominated for the Local Government Ministry. They are Osei Bonsu, or Obi Amwa as he's called, Augustine Collins Intim, and the disputed MP for Techiman South, Martin Ajay Mensah Kosa. 8 other ministries: Foreign Affairs, Attorney General, Agric, Education, Health, Transport, Lands and Natural Resources, will all have 2 deputy ministers each if the nominees are approved. The rest will have 1 each. According to the statement signed by Xyz Morning, the list has been officially presented to the Speaker of Parliament for prior approval.
Well, social media has been awash with comment for and against since the news broke yesterday. Well, while some say it's nothing new, others are also saying the posturing of the president is a slap in the face of the public who has been urged to tighten their belt. Well, let's speak briefly to Dr. Jonathan Asante, who is a senior political science lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, for his comment on this particular one. Doc, good morning and many thanks for your time. So, first of all, what do you make of this after going through the portfolio of some? Okay, I do know that I'm told we don't have Doc on the line, and as and when we'll get him, we'll go back to that particular story. Well, let's still stay on the appointment, because 10 of these new appointees are female. Now, 2 of them are retained, and 8 new fresh faces who are heading to new and other ministries. Well, before I bring you the female version of the deputy ministerial nominees, let's go back onto the phone and speak to Dr. Jonathan Asante. Doc, good morning and many thanks for your time.
Morning, sir.
Doc, so I was asking, or I'm asking, that having gone through the list and the portfolios that have been designated for these ones, what do you make of the list?
Let me say good morning to our viewers. Or is the radio station?
You say?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, very much. The first impression I get is that, well, quite a number of them come from Parliament, which of course is in satisfaction with the Constitution of the Republic. And then quite a number of the previous deputies have been taken out. The likes of Pius Adidi, and then the one who was with the sports, and then was later transferred to information, also I've forgotten his name, and quite, a number. Now, the other impression I get is that probably the president wants to see to the fact that quite a number of the MPs see to Parliament business especially the deputies, see to business of parliament whenever it comes to, you know, a crunch with the minority, you know, group in parliament, so that they'll be able to be available to use their numbers, as it were, to crush the opposition that the NDC will come out with. Then the other impression I get is that it's just quite unfortunate that a country such as this will still have such a huge number of deputies, you know, as ministers, and I think that the state has not done very well for us. If you are talking about individual personalities, I don't have enough information on individual personalities apart from the like of Xyz Morning and a few others. But you know that Mr. Xyz Morning, you know, is one of those who had a hand, more or less, in the collapse of the this energy power arrangement that became a fiasco. He also had a company that was formed, and you know the rest is history. And that some of us wouldn't know why the likes of Paris Ajide, you know, was taken out of the list. Yeah, that's my impression. Yeah.
Right. You talked about the toll list, and then we know government's own admission says we should embrace ourselves because there are challenges ahead. What does this send to the Labour Front and the ordinary Ghanaian as a whole?
Well, I just left out that part because that is more or less like an insult, or, you know, a spit in the face of Ghanaians. The president does not care a hoot about us, because a government that has borrowed so much to the extent that by the end of the year our debt to GDP ratio will be over 81%, and is likely going to be around 84 or 86, you know, by the end of 2024, 2025. So it means that all the things being equal, if the variables are the same, then obviously we'll hit such a number. Now, what does that, you know, tell us as Ghanaians, and the kind of government or the people that we've put in government, leadership of the president? Does not bode well. It tells you that the president does not listen to the plea of ordinary Ghanaians. And obviously, you could see that by next month, beginning of next month, don't forget that the effect of the levies that, you know, have been imposed by the budget will start, you know, creeping in, and your guess is as good as mine.
Doc.
Actually, the other thing too is that I'm not too sure if the president is in charge of his government. The NPP really spent quite, you know, a lot of money in the 2020 elections, and if they had not won, or if they had not been declared winners, I mean, your guess would have been as good as mine, because if that were not the case, it tells you that the NPP has, you know, some power brokers who more or less influence the president in one direction or the other. Because I am not happy with such a poor list. But you see, people who have spent money to keep the party in power, in our politics, they will have to be compensated one way or the other, either by getting their people as ministers, who more or less will seek to contractual arrangement, get some cut here and there as a way of compensating for the huge expenditures they incurred during the 2020 elections. And as I said, it tells you that the president is not in charge. And a typical example is having Mr. Biditu, the executive secretary of the president, signing a document that purported to reduce parliamentary, you know, budget, which became a fiasco. And he did that at the expense or without the so-called knowledge of the president. And so some of us would sit somewhere and ask, so how many other documents do not have the writing or the permission of the president, which, have not yet come out in the public domain?
Doc, thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm so grateful. And Dr. Jonathan Ochre Asante is a senior political science lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Well, still on that particular list, like I said, there are 10 fresh faces who are women, and so 2 are retainees and 8 are heading to fresh ministries.
Of the 10 female nominees were maintained. They are Abna Osei Asare as Deputy Finance Minister and Tina Giftina Ajele Menta, who is heading to the Ministry of Health as Deputy. The rest, Nana Dokua Esiama Ejei as Deputy Minister nominee for Trade and Industry, Dinah Asuna Badapa, Deputy Minister Designate for the Office of Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, Gifty Chum Ampofo, Deputy Minister for Education, Mavis Nkanta Buedu, Deputy Minister nominee for Roads and Highway, whilst Nana Ekia Kwanta is heading to the Interior Ministry as Deputy. Hajia Lariba Zurera Abudu, who is a sister of the Vice President, has also been nominated as Deputy Minister nominee for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Ama Poma Boateng, Deputy Minister Designate for Communications, and Fatimatu Abubakar, Deputy Minister nominee for Information.
Well, let's do some other stories. And beginning this morning, water will become the most valuable commodity for residents, most of whom are in Accra, Tema and Ashaiman. That is, if they've been enjoying water from the Ghana Water Company. Now, they risk crisis over the next 5 days if their storage facilities are smaller, and they promise to if services of private tankers fail. Now, yesterday, I visited the Tema General Hospital, which is one of the facilities to be affected, and the medical director of the facility, Dr. Richard Anthony, took me around, and you'll appreciate what the hospital has been doing.
Tema General Hospital is one of the major essential providers to be affected by the cut in water supply for the next 5 days. Built in 1954, it is one of the largest public health facilities serving workers in the industrial enclave as well as residents in Tema, Ashaiman, Nungwa, Bong, and patients from as far as Adan. In anticipation of the potential challenges within the period, GWCL will cut supply from the bone treatment plant. Xyz News visited the facility to assess its readiness. Medical Director in charge of the hospital, Dr. Richard Anthony, who led our news team around, says contingency measures are in place following the advance notice from the Ghana Water Company. According to him, the hospital has over the years and with support of NGOs and philanthropists adopted a hybrid system which swaps from tap water to storage in procured polytanks when GWCL cuts supply. This is one of such storage facilities serving the female ward.
And as you can see, we have 2 taps here. This one is
the GWCL water.
GWCL, Ghana Water Company Limited. And as I said, the borehole has been piped on different pipelines into the wards and even into the washrooms for sanitary purposes.
Okay. So this is the female ward?
This is the female medical ward of Tema General Hospital. For now, we are restricting ourselves to the water. So we are not going to go inside.
Dr. Richard Anthony assures us the gynae ward is also well secured and patients or their relations have no cause to worry.
The right is the internally connected borehole, which is flowing, so it can be used for what is needed to be used for. So this is the borehole, which has been connected from a different line, because we don't want to join it to the Ghana water pipelines, so that when the Ghana water pipe is off, we switch to the borehole.
Though largely neglected over the years, Tema General Hospital also serves as a referral facility for many smaller health facilities in the Tema, Bonkatamanso, Pram areas with specialists for the eye, dental, diabetic, sickle cell, and dermatology clinics, as well as anesthetic, chest, hypertensive. On our tour of the facility, we get the impression the hospital has strategically positioned the polytanks to cater for all the wards as well as the toilets. So, Doc, you have taken us round. Do you think what you have is enough to take care of this period?
What we have will help the period. But I must say that having gone around the wards and having seen the storage tanks, some critical areas may still need help. Areas like the theaters, maybe the laundry, because the pipe-borne water has been piped to most areas of the hospital. It's an ongoing project, which is still ongoing. But the hospital uses large volumes of water. That is why I say that we may still need help for supply of water through water tankers. And we will call for help when we need it. Because health is what? Health is for all Ghanaians. Health is for everybody. And we must all help in whatever way we can to assist the health sector. Not only water, but in other areas.
Well, let's do some other stories and news about the arrest of recalcitrant money doubler and closure of her 2 TV stations has been described as good move by the National Communications Authority. Now, the NCA is also targeting some 49 other stations. Well, let's hear what you've been saying.
I've never seen any quite such stuff happening on the national television. So, and I think them doing this is making the people going to such stuff. Like, just I think her arrest is a good move by the government.
First place, governments must abandon those having the stations, those fetish priests having the stations, because I learned that most of them pay. They pay more than those who advertise for their TV station. That's why they allow them. That's what I know. So government should put a stop to that. They should ask them to stop coming to the TV station, even if they pay more than the other advertisers. So
going to arrest somebody whom we all know that is somebody who is a fetish person, that he's doing it. Those who are coming to him, we don't know. Those who go to him, you understand. But when they go to the street and they get to know the people that they are, people are driving big cars that we know they are not working. They don't do anything. So where do they get those money and then they are able to buy those cars? That's my problem.
And that'll be it for this morning's edition of News in Brief or Morning Update. As always, do log on to my xyzonline.com for more news stories. When we return, Nana Abna will tell you about some disturbing stories and how you can get yourself out of that. Please stay.
If I cry na menyisika, etia ye mefui.
Ehifa pa na menya bosia, edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai cry mabre, miye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank. Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hyehyɛ ahodo bi te sɛ dwadifo abosia, ekoko bosia, susu account, ene da so wɔ hɔ savings account, me bada chain savings account, ene de akeka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 034229186. Na won so wetumi aka sɛ
Suhum Rural Bank ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank enti mepa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With a low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks, check, auto checks, check.
Emission, check.
Auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
Auto checks. Your safety, our priority.
Check. Auto checks.
Welcome back to the morning update on TV XYZ. My name is Nana Abena Sewa, and this program is brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water and, of course, Black Secret Makeup. Get your makeup and get your groove on. Now, this morning we will be discussing issues that are very disturbing. I mean, the whole of last week we have been talking about a related issue to the topic that we are discussing this morning. A lot of times, or a number of times, is either you have witnessed or you have heard that somebody has gone to prison for a crime that you or we deem petty. Petty also, I'm sure, is relative, because then we just talk about it in the emotional aspect. But I do have an expert in the studio who will give us details of what a petty crime is and what constitutes petty crimes. And also, they have been helping some people who have been thrown in jail for crimes that are not supposed to end them in jail, to be able to get out of the system and get punishment that are due to such crimes. I mean, sometimes you hear that somebody has been thrown in jail for stealing food or something that is basic or required as a basic need, and they get thrown in jail. One instance, which isn't about, being thrown in jail for a basic need, has to do with the Krapin Polo. I mean, you and I, we all sat here and we said that the court should grant her bail or not throw her in jail, and we were crying when we heard that she had been thrown in jail for 90 days. But again, we are happy to find out that she has made bail, and so, but she's supposed to pay about 80,000 Ghana Cedi bill, which some people are also saying is a bit exorbitant. Well, whether it is or not, I'll be speaking to an expert, Anthony Sedro. He is a project officer, Access to Justice Program. Now, there is an institution called Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, popularly known as CHRI, that has been dealing with issues like this. So mostly, I am trying to run away from this word, but I have to pronounce it. So mostly what they do is that they try to decriminalize petty offenses and to make sure that certain people are not thrown in jail, but maybe get community service, etc., etc. Good morning, Anthony.
Morning. Thank you for having me. I'm fine, thank you.
All right, so I know that I probably mentioned one or two petty offenses, but based on emotions, I am not an expert. I don't really know. Can you take us through what petty offenses are?
All right, thank you very much for having me. To start with, according to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, petty offense is a minor offense for which the punishment is normally either a fine, a caution, or a short-term imprisonment for non-payment of the fine.
Right.
So when we talk about petty offense, we're actually talking about minor crimes committed for which the person is fined, a low value fine, or cautioned, or if the person is unable to pay the fine, then he or she has to do a short-term sentence. I must admit that in Ghana, in our laws, we don't have anything called petty offense. What we have are misdemeanors.
Right.
So that's another name for the same as petty offense. And the punishment for petty offense in Ghana ranges from 0 to 3 years.
In prison?
In prison.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally, as you are saying, when the question is, what are some of the types of petty offenses that we're talking about? Yes. Let me give a little background. Not all of us can work in offices like this. So a lot of people, because of poverty or the economic situation, engage in life-sustaining economic activities, like hawkers on the streets. That's an example. They are doing these activities for survival, for economic survival. So they sell on the streets. So apart from the state using maybe the criminal law to criminalize some petty offenses, you also have the MMDAs, the municipal authorities, AMA, KMA, who have bylaws that criminalize some of these life-sustaining, activities like hawking, begging.
I'm not cutting you, but if you're watching the screens now, you will see how overpopulated our prisons are, and this is how they arrange them when they are sleeping, because we're putting all sorts of people in prison. There are people in there who actually claim they are innocent of certain offenses. There are people who just stole food, as I indicated earlier, and there are some whose parents actually take them there because they say they are being stubborn, they drink, or things like that, which we think that they have to probably be given community labor or etc. So yeah, back to what you were saying.
Exactly. So offenses like hawking, like begging, like sanitation offenses, petty stealing, like as you said in your introduction, you gave an example. Somebody steals food, somebody steals a tuber of yam, somebody steals 2 plastic chairs, somebody steals a dustbin, and then they are taken to court. And then when they are taken to court, they are fined because they are already poor. That's why they stole the food. They don't have the money to pay the fine. So what ends up is that they are sent to jail, And the reason why Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, with the support of OSIWA, is doing this project is that all over Africa, our prisons are overcrowded. In Ghana, our prisons are overcrowded. The prison population now, it is around 13,000 when it's supposed to be around 9,000. So it's overcrowded. So we are campaigning that people who commit petty offenses, petty crimes, should not be sent to an overcrowded prison. We should find other alternative means of punishing them, and that is where we talk about what you call a non-custodial sentencing. So you shouldn't send them to prison custody, but give them non-custodial sentencing, such as maybe our communities are dirty, let them sweep, let them weed, let them clean gutters, let them go and serve in a youth community, let them go and speak to young people about the dangers of some negative lifestyles. So there are alternative means in other Western countries that are used to punish people and not send them to jail. But we don't have them in Ghana. The problem is that currently in Ghana, there is nothing like a non-custodial sentence. So a judge cannot sentence you to community service. Since this Kwapin Polo issue happened, a lot of people are saying that, why send her to jail? At least let her do some community service, Maybe let her go and sweep, clean, which will take her time, and some part of her dignity. But at least it's also punishment, other than sending her to an overcrowded prison. And when you send people to prisons, just like the video showed, it has a lot of negative tendencies. The state must now take care of them. Morning, afternoon, evening, they must eat. You must give them a dress. The prison officers who take care of them must be provided for. If the person is sick, you have to send a vehicle, must send them to hospital. And there are other attendant costs, the family members who travel to go and visit and give them food and all, that are higher than the fine that the person would have paid. So we are saying that as a country, what we found is that most of the people who find themselves as petty offenders are the poor and the marginalized, because they don't have money. When they are fined, they don't have money to pay the fine. Because they don't have the money, that's why they steal these minor food items. And so our justice system, over a time, we've studied and realized that it is unfair. It criminalizes poor people, people who don't have the means to hire a lawyer. We go to police stations a lot to speak to offer paralegal services. You'll be surprised some of the offenses people are in for. Let me give you just one example. The Nkawiya Circuit Court in Kumasi sentenced a man for stealing a KMA dustbin. The man said he saw it in on a refuse dump and picked it, carried it. Somebody saw him, they raised an alarm, he was arrested. Then Calgary Circuit Court sentenced him, fined him about 600 Ghana. In default, they sentenced him to 1 year, 1.5 years. The man had 4 children. He pleaded that they should be allowed to work and pay back the money. But the problem is that, you know, when you go before a judge, the sentencing regime in the law is what the judge will give you. Many people are saying that, why don't you give community service or give a heavy fine to Equapim Polo? What is before a judge is what you give. Ghana has no law on community service. You know, there's no non-custodial sentencing law is not in place. So the judge can only find you by what? Sending you to prison. So we are saying that Parliament, we are saying that the executive, the Attorney General's Department should pass the non-custodial sentencing bill so that people who find themselves at the wrong side of the law for community petty offenses, they can serve the community. Look, if you ask a lot of the district assemblies and the municipal authorities, one of their biggest, one of their heaviest expenditure items is sanitation, because our streets are dirty, our gutters are choked. So we are saying that we should introduce a community non-custodial sentencing bill where community service is part of the punishment, so that people like Equapim Polo who find themselves on the wrong side of the law. I'm not saying that what she did was right. CHRI is not saying that what she did was right. We accept that yes, it was wrong. The welfare of a child is paramount. However, I mean, is sending her to prison the best punishment that can be given?
I mean, now they've granted her bill of 80,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Is that okay? Because some people think that it was a bit exorbitant.
Okay. It is good she's been granted back at least to spend some time with her child. That is also one of the things that we find in our work, that a lot of people, poor people, when they are arrested, they are in police detention, even the amount of bail that the courts, when court grants them bail, the terms of the bill are so onerous and heavy that they can't meet it, so they still get back to detention. So Equapim Polos is an example. I think she's well known. You know, it's not the reason why they said these bail items is that you feel that you cannot run away, you'll be available when court needs you. And so we've been campaigning along this line that when you give bail, at least the terms should be kind of moderate. You know, imagine she was not Equapim Polo, she was an ordinary person. We should be able to afford? No. So our criminal justice system needs a lot of tweaking, a lot of things to make it fair, equitable for everybody, not just for rich people.
Now, who is responsible for pushing this bill that you're talking about? Have you, as an institution, made any efforts to make sure that this is put in place?
We as this, just to give you a background, it's an Africa-wide campaign by the African Union, because most African countries have prisons that are overcrowded. So in Ghana, it's Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, and we work hand in hand with Shraj. We have been supported by OSIWA, Open Society for West Africa, to carry out this campaign. And the campaign is directed towards the Attorney General's office, towards Parliament, because eventually it's the Attorney General's office or Parliament that will draft the bill. Normally, the Attorney General's office will draft the bill, bring it to Parliament. Parliament will sit down, discuss, tweak it, and then get input before it will pass into a bill. So both Attorney General's office, the executive, and Parliament, we are pleading with them that most of the people in our prisons, many of them are petty offenders, people who are there because of poverty. And the situation was compounded by the COVID-19 that happened. We passed laws that right now, if I'm arrested on the street for not wearing nose mask, do you know what the law is? The law says the Imposition of Restriction Act is that you can be fined for not wearing a nose mask, a minimum fine of 12,000 Ghana cedis, in the equivalent of $2,000. A poor person cannot pay. You get me? You cannot hire a lawyer to defend himself, so you end up in jail. So you see that a lot of these laws, when you put them in place, what happens is that it's the poor and the marginalized who are targeted, who are the target of the unfair criminal justice system. So we are saying that as a country, we should find ways of making sure that the poor and marginalized, vulnerable people who are on the margins of society don't find themselves always criminalized and sent to prison. You know, we should make our justice system more fairer by introducing the non-custodial sentencing bill. And so that community service is part of our justice system, you know. And so that's why we are saying that Equapim Polo, nobody is saying that what she did was not wrong. She was wrong, but the punishment, is it commensurate to the offense? There's a whole public that is saying no. I mean, people commit even severe crimes, steal millions of dollars belonging to the state, but because they have walking free, because they have money to hire lawyers to defend them, poor people don't have money to hire lawyers to defend them. Who defends them? So we need the justice system must be fair, must be progressive, and so we must find ways of changing some of these laws, minor laws, petty offenses, that criminalize petty offenses. Let's try and find ways of decriminalizing them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that government understands the every system properly. They know economic issues, etc. But they still set laws like this, which you have said is mostly targeted towards the poor because they are the ones that suffer the most. Why do you think that is the case? Why do you think that government is not listening to some of these things that you've put out there?
This is a fantastic question. Government there are a lot of needs on government, and certain laws like there are a lot of everyday challenges that government is facing. So sometimes some of these issues are put at the back burner. You understand? So they are looking at bigger things about the economy, about politics, and so it may not be at the forefront. So you need civil society, you need media like TVXYZ, the platform that you've given us to be able to bring the message out there, to put pressure on them. An example is the RTI law. We were at the forefront of it, If civil society does not push it, it will be difficult for the executive and the government to push it, because if it doesn't benefit them directly, it will be difficult for them to. So we have to, somebody must speak for the poor people. Right. And that is why CSOs and the media, in hand with the media, we have to come out and speak for them, because yes, I'm not saying that the Attorney General's department and the rest are not concerned, but maybe the urgency needed is not added, and that is why we have to come. The CSOs, the public, the media have to come and put pressure on the executive and duty bearers to ensure that these things are not seen as just a minor, but they are basic in a democratic society.
Right. So I'll come back to you and talk about pressures and what are some of the pressures that you have actually put on these institutions. But if you have been listening or you just tuned in, we are talking about the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative decriminalizing petty offenses to make sure that human rights are properly ensured, and also to downsize the population of our prisons. So if you are listening now and you have an issue or you know something about what we are talking about and you want to contribute or share your story, you can personal experiences, you can call the numbers that we've put on the screen at 020-4155-888, or you can call 020-4155-944, and let's have this conversation. Now back to you. You did mention that we should put pressures, so I want to know specifically what are some of the things that as an institution you have done to make sure that this bill is passed.
Right. I know that previously a number of civil society organizations, including CHRI and others, our partners, Sports Foundation, the rest, put pressure on Parliament, and so a non-custodial sentencing bill, we made input. Okay. We made input, went for meetings, made input, we drafted, we helped to draft the bill.
I have so Amma, hello Amma, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you for calling. Could you please tell us your personal experience or give your opinion on what we are discussing?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the law that we are talking about the Equiapim Polo issue. You know that the judge based the judgment on the Constitution. He did not sit in his room to give judgment. So the judgment that the judge gave, the question is beneficial or not? Now, we know that we have been talking about human rights. That's the reason why nowadays students don't respect the elders anymore. Because when the child is doing something wrong and you want to put him in the right shoe, then the human right will come in. That this is this. So in Ghana, are you not having constitution? Are you not being governed by laws and regulations? We should go by that. And the human rights, they should try to defend what is right, as their names goes, and not to condemn what the law is saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. Do you have anything to say?
Yes, I don't think you and I here have condemned the judge. We haven't condemned the law. We are just saying that yes, the law before the judge is what she gave. But we are saying that that law, the fact that it's in the book does not make it fair.
Right.
The fact that it's in the book does not make that it's helpful. But the laws are always amended. Laws are always changed all the time. You know, if you want to go mention some of the petty offenses. Some will you be surprised. You understand? Insulting the national flag is a crime in our laws. Loitering is a crime in our laws. What is loitering? Some of these laws are colonial laws passed down, because in the past, when the colonialists were here, they were in castles, they were in forts, and so ordinary people who go close to them, they were uncomfortable. So these laws were passed.
Sorry, one second. Dede, good morning for calling. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for calling. Okay, okay, so then we have been talking about implementing better laws to make sure that we don't throw people who have committed petty offenses in jail. What are some of the maybe international laws that you know of that we can implement here to make sure that we actually achieve what you are trying to achieve?
Right. When the non-custodial sentencing bill is introduced, I'm sure it should be publicized for CSOs and the public media to make input. As we are saying, if we have a community service, we can allow people to work on to clean the streets. Okay, people can go and clean the streets. People can sweep. People can. We currently, even prisoners, some prisoners are sometimes sent to come and weed by the roadside and all. So there's some semblance of that can be put in the law now, where people can be made to weed.
Sorry, one second. So I have Alfino from Jamestown on the line. Alfino, good morning and thank you for calling.
Morning, madam.
All right, so please tell us what you think about what we are discussing, and if you have a personal experience as well.
Yeah, I think our politicians are not doing good because our prisons facilities are not up to standard. And the main reason why in Africa our prisons facilities are not up to standard is because they don't normally prosecute those who are in charge of the law, like the MPs and the ministers, whenever they go wrong. But if there is a law, I believe that if there is a way of prosecuting all these people, they will always try to make our prison facilities good, so that whenever they are offended and they be prosecuted to the jail, they also have a kind of a better life there. But then one other thing that I think is that our law and order, like, it's really not fair. Because as the guy was saying, there are some petty things that it's not really like they are not supposed to be jailed for, which they can also do a communal labor or a little bit of payment for the country. Now, when it comes to Jamestown, for instance, there are heavy choke gases and other stuff. So whenever these people are being sent to do communal labor, I think it can also help to up in our sanitation. Okay. And I also think that they should also invest, they should also give them a skilled labor. So whoever finds himself offended and comes out can also have, like, he or she can be equipped with certain skills to also better his or her life whenever they are done with their sentence. So some of the things that I want to contribute.
All right, thank you for calling. Do have a good day. Right, so now let's talk about best practices out there that we can implement here as well.
Yes, so we can tweak it to us. People serving community. Maybe in the US they have youth centers, so that when Chris Brown found himself, abusing Rihanna, yes, he didn't go to jail. He was given custodial sentence. So he had to go and speak to young people about not, abusing, about assault, respect for women and all that. So that's an example of where the person can be made to speak to young people. You can go to secondary schools where you educate them.
I'll come back to you again. I have Joshua from Volta region on the line. Joshua, good morning and thank you for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, so please tell us what you also have, share what you have with us.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Hello, Joshua.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Joshua, please listen from the phone, not the TV set, please.
Yes, I'm not listening from the TV stand. I'm actually listening on my phone, yes.
Okay, all right, sure.
Yes. What I want to say is that I think the issue pertaining to the grappling polo has really opened a lot of us, our eyes to so many things. Because I can tell you that before these incidents, there were many Ghanaians who never knew posting such things on social media could land us in this way, and we never knew what the law was concerning those particular actions. But my main concern was, as a result of this, I mean, our human rights or child rights advocates should better use these means to advocate for better kind of policies for children, rather than trying to subject people to certain kind of things that will not really go a long way to, help those children in whatsoever way as it is. The incident is not something that any of us is supporting, but we feel that this is the time for human rights or child rights lawyers or activists to make sure that they put pressure on government to ensure that the children in this country are given a lot of better lives. When you go out to our streets, you see a lot of children roaming all over. That is because there are no better policies for these kids in any way. And one of the bottom line is that why must the ordinary Ghanaian always become the victim? Why must we always be the victims at all times? We sit in this country, if we see politicians or politicians' relatives commit crimes, they go scot-free. As if that the law only works when the ordinary Ghanaian is involved, but politicians are exempted. So these are some of the things we expect to do. If those child rights people or human rights lawyers or whoever they call themselves think that it is, they should make sure that there's that the democracy actually works in this country, because the law should not be adamant when it is somebody and starts to work when it is another person. And this is the state in which we have been living for quite so long now. And it's high time we start to fight and make sure that these things stop. Because there are other people who have done certain things, even in high offices, should have been prosecuted. And up to today, such people still have the government protection and all those things roaming about doing their things freely.
Right.
So the question is, how long will the ordinary Ghanaian always be used as a victim? Thank you.
Thank you for calling. So please, we are talking about petty offenses and how we can decriminalize such offenses. And in the studio, I have Anthony Cedro. I got it right. He's a project officer and access to justice program from CHRI. Now, the best practices we were talking about, the ones that are there any best practices from outside that we can implement here as we push for the bill or the law to be passed?
Yes, offenders can be made to do community service. As I was saying, they can be made to, speak to young people about social vices. And in Ghana, currently, we have farms. We have national service farms, okay? When people commit offenses, instead of sending them to jail, why don't they go and work on national service farms? They stole because they didn't have money to buy food. Let them work on national service farms and get food. You understand? And get skills. They'll be trained, because national service, they have agric extension officers there. So they work on that farms instead of being in prison for 1.5 years. He works on a farm for 1.5 years. He learns about piggery, learns about how to rear animals. When he comes out, he has some transferable skills that he can set up on. So that's an example. And then apart from that, sanitation is huge. We can get people to clean gutters, can get people to sweep, we can get people to, there are so many things that we can look around and do, so that because there are societal needs, that we don't have people to do. There are things that we don't have people to do. So why send people to jail? That is already crowded. And the cost of sending people to jail is higher. Is higher than what? Giving them communal labor and stuff like that.
Before you leave us, what do you say to the general public?
Yeah, what I want to say to the general public is that this issue about Kwapin Polo has opened our eyes, and we need them to support CSOs in the drive to ensure that as a country we pass a non-custodial sentencing bill, number one. Number two, we decriminalize small petty offenses, so that poor people who are arrested and don't have lawyers to speak for them, don't have money to pay for fines and must go to jail, don't find themselves in that situation. Once as a country we decided to practice democracy, we must practice it well to the benefit of everybody, including ordinary people, not just the rich. That is what we want to say.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. It's been very educative.
And thank you, Xyz, for the opportunity.
Always. Right. So as he said, if we have decided to practice democracy, then we have to practice it to the core. This morning, we have been talking about decriminalizing offenses, petty offenses, and also in doing so, we are looking at downsizing the prison population and ensuring that human rights are properly ensured under the Constitution. My name is Nana Abnasawa, and this has been the social segment on the Morning Update on TV XYZ, proudly brought to you by X Natural Mineral Water and, of course, Black Secret Makeup. Eric is on standby, literally.
And this is the morning update on TV XYZ. Very exciting conversation in there, so emotional. And I believe that all of us will be joining this campaign to decongest our prisons, giving those petty offenses some other forms of punishment rather than caging them. Peter Otukuno is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. I'm sure yesterday you followed the conversation about the boycott of the IPAC meeting. The NDC, in a statement, I want to quote one paragraph, says the party took this decision because of the lack of candor, odious duplicity, and open bias that was displayed by Jean Mensah-led Electoral Commission in favor of the new Patriotic Party in the conduct of the 2020 general elections. Peter Otukuno, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, you sound very dull. Is it that this morning you have not taken your usual wache and Willie? Because I know you like Willie and plenty shit up.
I mean, you've got it right there.
Yes. I know we have been struggling to get you because you have been speaking to a number of radio stations. But to the serious issue, why will the NDC boycott IPAC? Because it doesn't send good signal to your party members. It only pleases them that you are still protesting.
Well, I think that it would be a very wrong assertion or observation to consider this as a wrong signal. Rather, I think that it's an energizing, positive signal to our grassroots, because our concern really, when we received the invitation from IPAC, initially was of a surprise, because we expected the Electoral Commission not to gather courage or have even the effrontery to invite any political party to discuss the outcome of the 2020 election, particularly because they refused to even defend their own actions during the election or even the outcome of the elections in the Supreme Court. So if you have refused to defend your own outcomes at the Supreme Court, then you would lack the moral effrontery to even discuss such matters on any other platform, much less IPAC. So we're indeed surprised. But again, as we mentioned last weekend after our retreat, we have done a review of the elections and the role of the Electoral Commission in delivering that biased outcome in favor of the MPP, the role they play in manipulating the elections in favor of the MPP. And we have come to a firm conclusion that the Electoral Commission will lack the integrity, the temerity, and even the impartiality to lead any discussions in the 2020 election. Now, so then what would be the basis for the discussion at IPAC? So we decided that, okay, we cannot be part of this discussion, which would clearly be unbiased, which clearly would be biased in favor of the MPP. So we are unable to attend.
Okay.
Again,
yeah, go ahead. Again, we're making a second point. Yeah, go ahead.
Again, we have realized that the Electoral Commission in the run-up to the 2020 election, played a lot of games, open bias games, which we did not handle well. Now we are reviewing our relationship with the Electoral Commission
working relationship with the Electoral Commission so as to engender a more efficient way of dealing with this kind of Electoral Commission. This despotic Electoral Commission is only interested in working in favor of the government. So when we make any determination on such review of the working relationship, we make the pronouncement public. But we have assured the general public and our people, our rank and file, that take every appropriate step to make sure that we forestall what happens in 2020. So whatever they do to manage the elections in 2020, that will not happen.
But are you not thinking along the lines of those who suggest, for example, that you are running away from a platform that will perhaps create or set the stage for the correction of the concerns you have raised? Because you have not sat down with the EC to look at what they have proposed. Let's look at 2020 elections. It was not addressed at the Supreme Court as you wished. If, for example, the interrogatories or Chachichukata has been given the opportunity to cross-examine Jean Mensah, but the EC, which will not resolve the concerns you have as of yesterday when the IPAC meeting was called, will be the same EC which will be in charge of future activities involving elections that you'll be party to in this country.
Well, that argument will be contradictory because this Electoral Commission argued strongly and stood strongly against, we inspecting their documents and going through the interrogatory. So it's the same Electoral Commission that is seated at IPAC. I mean, there is no new Electoral Commission. Jim Mensah is the leader of the Electoral Commission. All the arguments and the actions that they did before the election is the same Electoral Commission. Bear in mind, most importantly, that the IPAC has not become a platform for deliberating or discussing issues in the past few years. And I don't think that is going to change after the election. That is not going to change after the Supreme Court ruling. Because the Supreme Court ruling did not make any pronouncements on electoral reform. They didn't even make any pronouncements on the position of IPAC in the scheme of things. So nothing has changed. That is what we have said, that we have reviewed the process. And based on that, we have to make certain determinations and very strong decisions in making sure that we forestall what the Electoral Commission did in the last election. We are very optimistic and clear in our mind that this Electoral Commission would have to be dealt with differently. And that is why we are reviewing the working relationship. In the coming days, in the coming months, you will be hearing from us on our determination and pronouncement in respect of the working relationship with the Electoral Commission.
Now, Peter, before you go, you'd realize from your own statement that the Supreme Court, unlike 2013, did not make specific recommendations for electoral reforms. But the NDC still harbors your own position that you disagree with the EC, you doubt the EC. In fact, if I want to quote the words used by Johnson Asiedun Ketia in the statement, that because of lack of candor, odious duplicity, and open bias. Now, the European Union Observer Mission made some recommendations. For example, the roles of returning officers or presiding officers, and even the elections of some key persons like commissioners to the Electoral Commission. These are key to NDC's demand going into 2024. What platform can address this? Bipartisan, maybe a different body rather than the Electoral Commission, or all the stakeholders in elections, political parties, civil society organizations, governance institutions coming together under one umbrella called Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC?
Well, I think that perhaps the general yourself would have to be updated about the role of IPAC under the next Electoral Commission. Things are not the same like before. The IPAC has not become a platform where we can discuss issues like you are suggested from the EU report. Indeed, let me first make the point that the EU report has its own challenges, and we think that came in with a pre-planned, position to monitor elections. And unfortunately, the key things that matters to the people of this country, that was not monitored. But be that as it may, they have made some recommendations which I think is very key to look at, particularly the election of some members of the commission. And if that is anything to go by, you will not have an effective discussion at IPAC to solve this. This requires advocacy, which means that we would have to amend some laws, and that will be done in Parliament. So IPAC will not be the platform to discuss such decisions or recommendations. Indeed, if you send any such discussion to IPAC, led from members, led by the Mensa and the people, you think they will support? I mean, that will not be the platform. So our boycott of IPAC is very specific to this particular agenda on the invitation of the IPAC meeting to yesterday's discussion, and that was to discuss the 2020 election. And we feel that the Mensa and her team, they lack the impartiality, they lack the ability, the moral effrontery to lead any such discussions on the 2020 election. That is not to say that we are boycotted for IPAC election. We have made the point that we are going to review our relationship with the working relationship with the Electoral Commission, and it may come in various forms. So we have not said that we have boycotted IPAC elections throughout. We are boycotting this particular meeting, and it should stay at that.
General Secretary of the NDC, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
All right, and I will comment pair for you this morning if you have not taken your watch yet. It will boost your immune system. I have in the studio my guest this morning. How are you, sir?
Hi, boss.
Yeah, when we come back after the break, we'll just wrap up on this controversy emerging from the decision not to be part of that meeting.
Yeah.
And then we'll do other stories.
No problem, sir.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo. Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural, mixed, mineral water.
You still got it. Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For our Kwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome back. TVXYZ, Wezo TV. Good morning to everybody listening to us or watching us from wherever you will have been this morning since 6:30. This is the morning update newspaper review segment. Edgar Redu is an insurance marketer, and I love the way he has branded himself. Now the cameras can look at him. Edgar, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Charlie.
Yeah, boy.
They shoot too.
Oh, this is normal. I mean, yeah, man.
You sure?
I bet you like tie. So you go put on your tie. Me too, I like my.
And this one, the last time
very
it was
easy
50,
way.
The last time it was 50 cedis plus 30.
Exactly.
This one be how much?
The same price.
The same price.
Yeah, the same price.
So everything is 30 cedis.
3 years, 10 cedi per year.
So that's how I welcome Edgar always. I like his style of dressing.
Yeah.
I'm sure before he leaves, you stand up. You will understand. Zubairu, what's the first name, sir?
Ibrahim.
Zubairu Ibrahim is also representing the NDC. Edgar is an insurance marketer. He speaks his mind, and sometimes you can't even see or predict his line of argument, but obviously telling the policymakers that that's how we should look at Ghana, being dispassionate about what we do just for public interest. Edgar, again, you are welcome. Before I introduce you, we spoke to the Deputy General Secretary, one of the Deputy General Secretaries of the NDC, Peter Otukono, who says that their decision to boycott the IPAC meeting yesterday specifically was because they can't sit with the EC to discuss the 2020 elections because they are not fair.
Well, I think that, I mean, they are entitled to their own views. I mean, they are major players in this whole election governance.
Let me correct a mistake here. I think because the style has always been bringing representatives from the two sides, I made a mistake. Zubairu actually is a lecturer. I didn't do my background checks well. I sincerely apologize for branding him wrongly. Let me go it this way. You are a lecturer, and can you tell me a little about yourself? I did a poor background check before.
I'm a senior lecturer.
He's a lecturer. I mean, that's all. What the background you are? Are you going to do vetting? Are you doing vetting? They ask all these questions.
I've booked, and let me accept that. Zubairu is a senior lecturer at Accra Technical University. He's been here before. I think my judgment was wrong, so apologies for that, and sorry for putting you in that state. Edgar.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, the NDC is not just an ordinary establishment in this country. I mean, they've been in government before, now the biggest opposition, and so far as the state is concerned. And they are major players in this whole election business, governance and everything. So to an extent, if they say they are not comfortable with the EC, that is their view. As to whether it is or not is another matter. So they're not comfortable with the EC and therefore would not want to sit down with the EC to, as it were, do a post-mortem of the 2020 elections and all that. Fine, they can, hold on to that. But the question is this. This same EC, all things being equal, this EC is going to be there for the 2024 elections, right? Are you therefore going to say you will not partake in the 2024 elections? Certainly not. You definitely want to come to power, and without the EC, you cannot come to power. So you definitely, one day, you go back.
He suggested so in the submission that their decision is only because the conversation that was going to be on the table or was on the table yesterday was about the 2020 elections, discussions on the bad sides or the good sides, that's in terms of the management of the process to walk into 2024.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The question is, was it an appropriate decision to boycott that platform which would have addressed the concerns they are still harboring?
Well, it's like, the picture I get is like, look, we are not prepared to discuss this matter. Maybe we've brought closer to it. So if that is what we are coming to talk, forget it. We are not interested. Okay? But maybe subsequent discussions will come in there. Okay? So, I mean, and it happens to almost everybody. I mean, it says, look, I don't want to talk about this matter again. Let's move on. if from the way you are presenting the picture, then I want to assume such is the case, because you said they emphatically stated that this particular 2020 matter they are not prepared to discuss. So then the picture is okay if you are not prepared to discuss, but subsequently any other matter that comes up, we are there. And as I said, they are entitled to their view, their opinion, because at the end of the day, what is it going to change?
Nothing.
It's not going to change anything. Why waste public space? So they think that
it may sound like a good position from the NDC, but others may also assume the other side of the conversation, that either you join us to discuss the problem you are still harboring, or we shelve it, but as long as you still have that perception that the personalities in there are going to be biased, or are biased, as I said, Nketia put it, and he used the word lack of candor, odious duplicity, and open bias that was displayed by the Jean Mensah-led Electoral Commission in favor of the NPP in the conduct of the 2020 elections. Jean Mensah, Dr. Srebwo, Dr. Bosman Asare, maybe Sylvia No, perhaps has left because she has been made an ambassador, but almost all the commissioners there will still be there going into 2024. So if the NDC is not discussing an electoral process today with the body which is responsible, how will NDC go into 2024 if it is still not part of a conversation with the EC on 2020? Let me take your response to this concern.
Yeah, good morning to our listeners, and let me quickly say that Otukuna was talking about their reaction to the post-mortem or the discussion on just past elections. And they are not ready to sit with them because of certain things they've done. If you have somebody who raised an issue with your work, I think you have to check yourself properly and then see where you did wrong. And then maybe if you think that the best thing to do is to ensure that everybody trusts the work you do because it's the good for everybody or for the whole country, then check yourself and then be sincere. Because everybody knows whatever you did, whether it is good or wrong, everybody knows. Even a small girl will tell, oh, this one there, this one is okay. So check yourself. These people are raising issue. Where did I go wrong? And what have you? If they boycott and find out, they've said this, that, is it true? If it is true, then you have to check yourself and let everybody know that you are changing for the better, for the good of the country. Though they might have moved on and said that because of that we are not discussing this, like my brother Edgar said. But you, the body, that taxpayers' money are used to pay you to manage the elections of the country. When you check yourself, did you actually do the right thing? If the answer is yes, then whether they come or not, there shouldn't be a problem. But if the answer is no, then you have a lot of things to do to gain the trust of everybody in the country. Well, after all, we are all here, we saw what actually happened in the country insofar as the 2020 elections are concerned. And so when you look at
going forward,
and when you look at what is going on in Techiman South, that should tell you something, that a lot of this happened multiply over several areas. And
so it will remain a concern as long as there is some assurance that they have been addressed.
Yes.
And so in Peter Otukuno's submission, he suggests that the Supreme Court, unlike 2013, did not make any recommendation going forward into the 2020 elections and then looking at 2024.
So they are going to make a case, like he said, they are going to make a case in the parliament to make sure that laws are properly put in place to check or correct some of these things. If Supreme Court is not making any direct, they have to go to where they can. Because now they can't go to Supreme Court to tell them that make rules. So there's a way they can do it through the people's representation.
Do you see this workable? Going through Parliament, EC being an independent body, which got some backing from the Supreme Court. You remember before the 2020 elections, there was the process of going through the registration exercise. And then issues went to court, and then the court made it clear what boundaries we can cross as people, not interfering in the work of the EC. Now the NDC says we want to look at Parliament rather than sitting at the table with EC.
You see, I've always said that in this country, we are on a certain trajectory that if we're not careful, the next 5-10 years, this country will just be a total mess. Politics in this country has become a do and die matter. Okay? People are giving an impression that their lives or their livelihood depends on politics. So far as something does not favor me, it is wrong. So far as it favors some other person, it is right. That is the kind of system that we have. You see, we must also understand how the court operates. The court would not normally go out of what has been put before it. Yeah. You see, if I remember very well, there was a particular case, I've forgotten the year, but it was about this 31st December issue, celebration, when the NPP took this matter to court. And the arguments were being put forward and all that sort of thing. Okay. And I recall, then Justice Akins, he was part of the panel. Yeah. And when the arguments and things were going on, he made reference to even June 4th. Yeah. But then Dr. Obed Asamoah, who was the Attorney General then brought his attention to it that, my lords, what we are discussing here is 31st December and not June 4th. And they agreed, yes, of course, because what has been put there was whether 31st December was a legal, holiday that we need to acknowledge and then recognize and all that sort. And that is what brought about that famous page 28 matter and all that. You get it? So you sent a matter to court. The court would have to deal with that. Is why in filing your whatever, you state exactly what it is. And they are not supposed to go outside what is there. Unless you have put it in there. We must understand how the court operates. You see, I want to ask a question. Was it 2012 or 2013 petition? How come we didn't hear anything from the NDC to say that we think this part of the case or this part of the judgment or this attitude of the judge was not right? It went in their favor and they were happy about it. If 2020 hasn't gone in your favor, come on, let's move on. You see? But there are some serious things that we need to understand. In the 2013 petition, okay, a few things came out, and I remember Atuguga saying that, look, the NPP were relying on certain dictates within the CI to make their case. All right? And in one of the statements that, because one of the statements was very clear that if there was, some overvoting, that particular whatever should be nullified. Should be nullified, right? And the judge said, look, you cannot say the duty, that right of the citizen, that he's gotten up around 4 o'clock to go and queue. Over 1,000 people have gone to queue. And then, at the end of the day, just because maybe one person did not sign the pink sheet or whatever, so all that must be made what? Nullified? It doesn't make sense. So then in the ruling, that was when they made recommendations that they have to look at the CI again. You get it? Because the NPP's arguments in court were basically on those little things that the CI had provided. That because somebody doesn't sign, so you have to throw that whole thing away. Because the number is this and that. So I said, you cannot use these things to. I mean, the right of the ordinary Ghanaian. You cannot use these things to do that.
Doc, let me just read this text message. Maybe your response in this direction, because Edgar obviously has summed it up. Now, it's a good decision for the NDC to boycott the EC's review of the 2020 election, as it publicly refused to account for their stewardship when they had the greatest opportunity in court. Since they interpret autonomous to be the law unto themselves, there is no need for such a discussion, which is only designed as a mere formality, as they are consistently insisting that IPAC is only an advisory body. It would have been suicidal to honor such an invitation. Now, Nitaki Welbeck sent this text message. Does it walk into the concern that has been raised? And of course, if you marry that with the position Edgar is putting across, that look, let's accept it that the Supreme Court has done its work. NDC should either wake up to the reality today or forget it.
Yeah, I just want to draw this attention. You know, the petitions MPP submitted or sent to court in 2013 is different from that of NDC in 2020. We should understand that. While MPP is looking at knocking off vote or legitimate vote of voters because somebody didn't sign, like Edgar said, or somebody, some serial number, what have you, NDC is not saying that. NDC is saying that the counting was not done well, or the collation of the counted ballot from the polling stations was not properly done, and therefore they want them to recollate or look at it, check the accounting that was done and recorded on the what do you call the forms on the collation forms, so that everybody will be clear in his mind. And as a chartered accountant, what I know is that when there are disputes on figures, you bring a third party to look into it, tally properly, show this man, so that we all agree that at least when we say 20 from this, we all agree that it is 20, and not that somebody saying this is 20 and another person did say 200. It brings confusion and the rest of them. But the court didn't grant it and think that whatever has been said is all right. That still covers a lot of mystery around the elections 2020, and that's what we have to clear for the general public to know. Now, MDC don't want to glorify those things that was done that they feel is not right, and therefore, if they are not going, it's within their right not to go, so that they will go and glorify something they disputed. And at the end of the day, he said, okay, they've come, we have agreed, it is put aside. No.
Now, there's an outstanding issue embedded in there, and I will leave it to the two of you to make brief comments, and then we'll move on to another topic.
Yeah.
It's in the recommendation by the European Union Observer Mission.
Yeah.
Because your submission obviously talks about collation of results.
Yeah.
And so the EU Observer Mission is recommending in there that the roles of presiding officers or returning officers must be properly defined.
Yeah.
And then it also went ahead to talk about at what point they can take their own decisions rather than waiting for Accra to give them directives.
Yeah.
That may perhaps address the issues about constituency collation results, i.e. parliamentary elections and so on. Now, with that recommendation, which maybe the Supreme Court didn't give because it is not mandatory or automatic that it will happen after adjudicating any of such cases, how should those things, if it is universal, those concerns as captured in the report, be addressed? What platform should that be sent to be addressed? Edgar, brief comment, and then I'll take yours briefly, and then we'll look at another topic.
You see, let me tell you something. I think this matter, we discussed it the last time. As I said, first of all, we must understand the positions of these observer missions and things. We should understand their positions. They are not above anybody.
No.
They are not above, they don't have any right to direct anybody. You have come to observe something, and then whatever you see, you just, write. If they had gone to the EC before writing their report, they would have known that the EC has a manual that all these things are in there. How to address issues, how to resolve problems, roles of presiding officers, roles of pulling, everything, the EC has it. The problem we have in this country is this. You see, the likes of my brother Ibrahim will not make himself available. Edgar will not make himself available. Eric will not make himself available
at the collation center.
No. As citizens for EC to use when these things are coming up. How do you call it? You have how do you call it? 33 something thousand polling stations. Okay. The EC hasn't got 33,000 employees.
Yeah, it's 38,000.
38,000. It hasn't got 38,000 employees. So when such situations arise, they ask for people who would want to volunteer. Okay? At times they call on teachers and other people to volunteer, and then, so that we can do that job for that day or two. The question, therefore, is the people who have been employed or engaged, to what extent are they knowledgeable out there to understand the intricacies, the rules, and what have you? That is the problem. You see, it's like you want to engage somebody to do a job for you, just like the mistakes we do in this country. We are always interested in the degrees that people have. Okay, so when you do an advert, you say, I want somebody minimum qualification, second class upper. How many posts, that. Then you get somebody to bring all that before you. But as to whether practically he can do it is another matter.
Now, brief comment, and then let's move on to another topic.
Yeah, I think that the EU, if they actually want to serve this country right during election, we have 275 constituencies. They should get reps for all 275. And then get people there to go around to the various polling stations with 275. They will see the reality of our elections, and then they should get people to be at the collation centers of 275 to be able to tell the story than what they put out there, so that we can accept their recommendation. Though I don't think they can sit in Brussels or wherever to write anything and direct us that. Last I said it on I think your TV here, that they cannot sit there and direct us. No. They can just make a recommendation that, look, in order to bring peace, you need to do A, B, C, D. This is what we have done to bring peace. Even them, look at what happened in America.
That is another conversation. I'm being smart, otherwise we won't finish that. Now, yesterday, a list of deputy ministers came out.
Yeah.
There were actually 40. If you look at the list, one has been retained at the finance ministry. Instead of deputy, he's been made a minister of state at the Ministry of Finance. The rest are deputies. About 3 of the ministries, we have 3 deputies each. I think local government, I don't know, I think there's a finance and energy.
My brother has said we have
8 other ministries which have 2 deputies each. So we have 16 of them going to 8 ministries, and then 9 going to 3 ministries, and the rest come along as deputy ministers. In summary, what do you make of this list? Because it is coming at a time the critics will say we have been told to tighten our belts. On 1st May, the new taxes introduced in the budget will take effect. And so if collectively we are going to tighten our belt, what suggests that government is also cutting down costs, but not forgetting that government must work? I don't know where to go. Okay. Zubairu.
In fact, when I saw the list yesterday, I jumped from my seat because the president promised that he's going to reduce his number of ministers, and I don't know whether
he has done so by cutting down at least 40.
Are you sure?
It was 126 thereabout, and what we have now should be about 85 or 86.
No, a ministry having about 3 deputies, I still don't understand what is there. let's ask ourselves, what is the work of the technocrat, the chief directors, and all those people in the ministry? What do they do? The minister himself, what does he do? He just representing government, and chief directors and the technocrat cannot work for him to agree to disagree, and he has to get about 3 deputies before we can. I see. You see, protecting the public purse shouldn't be just oral. It should be practical. Reducing 40 or whatever that you talked about. I don't see the zeal in protecting public purse when it comes to these areas. Now, finance. What do they use for the Minister of State there when you have other deputies already? I don't know whether we have a child play in some of these things. Are we really serious in this country? Are we? When you check the emolument of these ministers, that's why teachers and other people will always get angry. And they will always push the government, and the whole country becomes problematic. Doctors will get angry and want to push government. When those people finish and are going, you realize that whatever they take, a teacher will teach for 30 years, will not even get 1/4 of what the guys are taking. And he's working every day. So they don't feel they will get angry. When you go to negotiations, a lot of things happen. And you sit back and ask yourself, is it good to even sacrifice for the country? Because of these things, it makes patriotism die in people. So today, if you talk about patriotism, forget. People are looking for money. Taxes have come. You say you are not going to increase salaries for the next 4 years. Now when people push you to the wall, you say you no increase it any drastic up. Now you are calling, when people say they are going on strike, you are calling for joint public sector negotiation committee, tripartite committee to look at it. Now, May 1st, new taxes are going to work. Already they have not started working. Price of goods have shot up. So what are we doing? So I don't see any seriousness in the government promise that it will protect public purse with this kind of appointment and what have you. Certain ministries don't need deficit because they have technocrat there and they have to work with the technocrat. I don't know why. Let me tell you one thing. When you go to Ministry of Finance today, technocrats who are there, public servants that are there, young guys have been brought from data bank to be sitting on them and working. And instead of they doing their work, these guys are like, they're those who takes everything and then meet the minister. It's not right.
But we have the Ghana Civil Service. I remember 2 years ago, Clocksag issued a threat, open threat, because the executive secretary addressed that press conference. And they made reference to this data bank or this alleged special assistant.
It's not alleged, it is there.
But Clocksack has since been there over the past 2 years. And Clocksack has not fought that fight to say that we knew them, we have told the public that they should get them off, and they have been taken off. So if they are still there, why will I blame somebody who perhaps is exploiting an opportunity to get his work done and leave the civil servants I continue to pay to deliver a service I cannot see? I'll come to you, Edgar. I don't know your take on this conversation.
Well, my take is quite broad. Basically, first, we must understand the whole concept of governance. All right. But when we see that things are not going the right way, we have done this for how many years? How many years? From 93 to about 28 years. And it's not working for us. But still we're going to the same area. You see, in strategic management, right, there's something known as evaluation.
Yeah.
Right? having done all those things, your policies, your processes, your procedures, and having identified your assets, resources, and blah, 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 right? The target, what is the end result? Okay, what's the end result? Someone says, basic. Where did we come from? Where are we? Where are we going?
Yeah.
Okay, so you ask yourself, Ghana, where did we come from? Where are we?
And where
are we going?
Simple.
As we sit, we don't know where we are going. But we know that we are poor. We are broke. Okay? We know. There's no money.
We are going to Ghana beyond aid.
When is the Ghana beyond aid? So yes, we are going to Ghana beyond aid. It should be by 2025, Ghana beyond aid. And I mean, you see, you should know. You should have that is why you have targets. So if you just come and then, as I said the other time, Rollins said 2020. Kufo came said 2020, throw it somewhere. Then they started to 2015, then they came to 2012, then somewhere they came to 2010. Or nothing. Mahama too come 40 year. This is come forget 40 years, 7 year. They launched some 7 years something at was it National Theatre something. Nyama. Okay.
Who does Ghana belong? Who owns Ghana?
Ghana belongs to all of us here.
And so who should be deciding how Ghana should go where it wants?
Yes, we have decided. We went to vote. So we went to vote and we've decided. So that is it. You see, let me tell you something here. When you talk about the ministerial something, you ask yourself the question. Look at the bigger nations with bigger populations. Yeah. How many ministers do they have? How many ministers do they have? Do we need all these human beings to be ministers? You get it? And some of the things that is even disturbing is this. I said, but Nanado, I thought maybe this time you would change it a little by allowing Parliament to work.
Yeah.
Let Parliament work. And all these MPs that you are removing from Parliament to the ministry, okay, all these things are going to slow progress. Because in one ministry that you have a minister and 3 deputies, they are all MPs. Okay, you take local government, you take energy, you take education, you take the trade. All of them are MPs. So now the question is this: if they go and sit in Parliament from morning to whatever time, it means no work is going to be done at the ministry, because without the ministers, no work is done. The minister must come and issue. The chief director is just sitting there. You see? So you ask yourself, why move all these people from Parliament? Why don't you let Parliament get the numbers and then work? Get the other guys. I mean, there are so many people who are there can do the job. But then again, maybe the president can say that because of the public purse.
Yeah.
So if you are bringing in new people, you have to pay them. But then the difference between the MP and the minister's salary is something not too much of a problem. So therefore, if you are taking the MP to be a minister, already you are paying the MP. So maybe the difference between the MP and then the minister is just maybe some 500 Ghana cedis. So by so doing, you are saving the public purse. You can make that argument, you know. But then let me also tell you something. From where I sit, where I come from, you know, I am a business-minded person. Okay, so I understand how things are done within the private sector. Look, in the ministries is a bad deal. The ministries is a bad deal. Every day there's a meeting in the ministry. Every single day there's a business in the ministry. But Ghana has never moved forward. Okay? Every day, every ministry is having a meeting. There's no day a chief director can sit down and say, today I don't have a meeting, or for this week I don't have a meeting.
Is it for the benefit of the allowances, or it's been a routine to use it to steal from
you see, it's not a question of stealing from the state or anything. You see, the dynamism of the world, we fail to appreciate the dynamic. The world is not waiting for us.
No.
Things are moving on, but the ministry has a certain how would I call it? Format or style. This is how we work. The bureaucracy. This is how we work. So they are not prepared to change. And I tell you, that is some of the reason why Ken Ofori-Atta went to bring some of these people. Because you see, if you want to go by the ministry structure, must I tell you, one decision that they have to take, 6 months, they've not taken the decision. Then after a 3-hour meeting, then they'll form a subcommittee for that subcommittee to go and do a job, and that subcommittee report maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks time. Then when they report, they'll have another meeting, and after that meeting they'll form another subcommittee to look at that report that came from the first subcommittee. I mean, I've been dealing with them, so I know it is a whole. It is a whole crap. Seriously,
we had some time ago. I remember under Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, we had public service sector reforms, and that was what came with the clogging system and so on to enhance efficiency in the public sector. And then came another conversation called, or an animal called, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. And that also came with so much expectation. Let's pay people work well and see productivity. You are in academia, he is a businessman. What is really going wrong? Who should we hold accountable for all this effort we are putting and still at zero, not knowing where we are going?
Let me take it to them, sir. I told you, I said from day one.
So make it brief and then
I said from day one. When you send a letter to the ministry, it will go to the minister. If the minister is not in office 2 minutes on the letter, and it will sit in that office. So if the minister is out for 2 days, that letter is still sitting there. In the private sector, no. Hardly will people even, like for instance, you want to go to the bank, hardly will people even address the letter to the managing director. They'll address it straight to the line manager or whoever it is. And then work is going on. But with the ministry, it must go straight to the minister. If the minister is not there, it will wait. When the minister comes, so like you talk about maybe, let me just give an example. So maybe you say we have the
roads ministry.
Not even roads. Okay, yes, maybe roads ministry. Then you have some deputy. Maybe you have a deputy for urban roads. You have a deputy for feeder roads. You have a deputy for highways. Okay? So now, when the minister comes and he reads it, then you mean it to the deputy for highways.
For action.
Before the deputy to read and then minutes. That one will take like 1 week before it will get down. When he goes to another place, so you go to energy, say somebody say for power, for petroleum, and somebody to come and say maybe for renewables. So the minister reads, then he sends it here, then he sends it there. Before it will get down to wherever it should go, 1 week is gone. In the private sector, one day, your thing can be addressed one time and it's moving. So it is about the kind of structure that has been put in place. And at times, you see, it's so even amazing. When people write letters, they'll put it on draft, then they'll send it to the chief director, then he'll correct the grammar. You correct the grammar, then they bring it down again, then the secretary will type, then when he type, then you send it back, then they say, oh, even change this word. That one alone can take 1 week. You see, civil service is a different structure altogether, and that is why we are not moving. So not until you change that whole concept of, you see, you must look, every goddamn thing you do in this world, you must have a business mind towards it.
Edgar, it's a tall conversation, and I'm sure
that is why I said it's a broader one.
A lot of lessons, even from the bit that Edgar has spoken about. What is going wrong? Because the public sector reforms took a lot of resources, millions that was spent around the country, workshops, seminars, changing the setting of many of these institutions involved.
See, what is going wrong, because we have dealt with them, is that in the public service or the civil service, there are certain things the chief directors or those who are operative cannot take decision and act. They can't. They will tell you they have to get a green light from the minister before they can do so. If the minister is not there, they will be waiting. If the head of a department or agency has to act, if you go and act, the Ministry of Finance will ask them who gave them the green light before that they did. So they shouldn't commit the ministry unless, or government, unless approval authorization has been given. Fine. So how then do we ensure their autonomy to be able to work independent, to ensure that things are done, day-to-day operations, we achieve the target and objective for which we are. And that's the problem we have in this country. In order to be able to do that, or because of that, a lot of people feel, oh, let's wait. And the things are delaying. Like Edgar is saying, 1 letter, 2-3 weeks.
And we are not going to get to where it should be. Let me link it to another institutional issue that has to do with the move by the National Communications Authority to close down.
But let me just chip in this one. I'll tell you something here. When the insurance bill was being considered, okay, and then the select committee guys had met, there was a document that the chief labor officer had written for it to be factored in the debates about the bill. It's so interesting that I was with the chief labor officer, and I told the chief labor officer that, look, this thing, if we do it this way, we're going to have a lot of problems. So let's do it that way. Let's do it that way. Let's send this one straight to Parliament. And he said, oh, how do you call it? Because he worked under a ministry,
it has to go to the minister.
It has to go to the minister. I was there, and then it's so coincidental. I think the deputy minister or someone called, and he said, oh, he was even coming to his end. But this is the whatever it is like. So he carried that one, and then I took the other copy, and then I sent it to Parliament. All right. When they came to sit down to do the debate, right, and he said, yes, this is a copy of what was sent to Parliament. He was told there at the committee that it should come from the minister. And the chief director was sitting with him, and he said, yes, in fact, the document is still on the minister's table.
No, Parliament has...
Parliament too is sitting, and he said,
it does not come.
It does not come from the minister. They wouldn't want to look at it. You see? And meanwhile, you want to pass that bill into law. The man had brought a document saying, these are our comments, these are reservations, or what have you. You have said, because, you know, this kind of attitude. So it is about the way we have designed the structure. That somebody says that this is our working manual. Okay? This is our working manual. So we have to go by that. This is how we work in this establishment. So dynamism is missing, thinking out of the box is missing, innovation is missing, creativity is missing. The status quo. Yes, status quo. So they are not prepared to change.
Okay, so we'll leave it there. You send us your comments 0556 999 999. Another institutional
the closure of those here.
And some say yes, it's in the right direction. Some are saying we need more details. I'm sure it's one leg of the conversation. The other one is, if they are acting or the prompt is a result of what happened in Kaswa, does it suggest that our institutions will continue to sit there and not take proactive measures till something happens and we act? Your own take on this development? It's on the table. Agrada arrested over Sika Gari TV shutdown. Agrada, and NC has issued a statement that their decision to clamp down on the 49 station is an ongoing exercise and nothing to do with the conversations that have come after the Kaswa incident.
But I have raised issues about the fact that the National Communications Authority, after issuing the licenses, they go to sleep. It's their duty to vet a lot of the things and make a follow-up to see whether the license for which the people have applied and are operating is actually using for the purpose. So if you are not supposed to air certain things, and when you are airing certain that is against the law, they have to call you to order. If they are not doing that, and now the thing is spreading all over, it takes certain TV stations. Honestly, it's horrible. Actually, sometimes you have to make sure that your children do not switch on to those TV stations. Other than that, the kind of psyche they're going to go through with it is very, very horrible. So NCA saying that they are going to shut down, we have to look at that shutdown they are going to do. Is it that those people have broken the law?
They have no license to operate. According
no license to operate. Now, how did they come on air? In Ghana, here, can somebody just go on air without you buy your equipment, you just start operating without any green light from the NCA? You just go on air. Does it happen?
Yeah, it happens.
Wow.
I mean, it's technology. So far as you have all kinds of satellites around, you can easily hook up to one.
Any of them.
And then you start doing your own thing. You know, one of the problems I have with Ghanaians is this. It's just like I was discussing this insurance bill matter, okay? Because I had an interest. So I went to Parliament, okay? I went to Parliament. I sought audience with the Select Committee Chairman.
Yeah.
I sought audience with the leader of government business, and we had a discussion, and I presented a paper to them. They have to consider. We are all sitting in this country. We don't care as to what goes on in Parliament. Then the next thing we realize, a law is in place. Then now we come and cry. The law is very clear in the section that you need that approval from the NCA before you can operate. And you didn't seek the approval. It is very clear in the law. So if the law is being enforced, why should this be a matter to waste public space discussing it? It's of total useless. I mean, you see, indiscipline is one of the biggest problems in this country. That is why we are never moving forward. The places that you go and you see that the country, you don't joke. The discipline is strong. You go to some countries, right? Nobody will even tell you that don't walk here, because you know when you look at the place, you see that this place you don't walk there. The grass is as smooth as. In Ghana, they'll write keep off grass. Apart from the keep off grass, they'll even put some fence wire behind the keep off grass. Still, people will walk in the grass.
It's fun.
So I mean, these are basic things.
It's fun.
You see, where even they have written it keep off, because they know some people are still, then they'll come and put some barricades, some fence wire there. Still, people will cross it and then be walking. Total indiscipline. The laws that we are talking about, as you say today. Now look at what the MTTD people say they are going to do. The laws have already been there. You know that it is an offense to cross red lights. You allow people to cross the red lights. Now somebody whips up something, you say we are now going to enforce. You know very well that the Children's Act prohibits children from selling and doing all these things. I always say that, look, and it has happened on 2 occasions. You know, that Kakudi traffic light, right? On 2 occasions, some truck guys, whether they miscalculated or whatever it is like, they had to cross in and then they knocked somebody off because, you know, and the police are there every day. You see the people standing there selling. How many people do you want to be killed there before now you come and say that it is an offense to be selling? What kind of country is this? You see, so for me, my problem with this country is about leadership and then the type of people he puts in place. You see, because I am a crony, if I have the capacity or not, it's not the business. Because I'm a crony, so I'm giving the job to do. That if you are able to get the correct person, right, regardless of political affiliation, that right person will come and sit in the office and do as he's doing. Look at what is happening to this guy today. What's the name? The Accra Kote. What's the name? The MP.
Henry Kote.
When Henry Kote came to office, have you seen what has happened at Zongo Junction?
Unfortunately.
Maybe drive to Zongo Junction and see what has happened when Henry Kote took over as minister for Greater Accra. So all the previous ministers, what were they doing in office?
And people have issued statement that they need Accra to win 2024 elections, so we should slow down.
To be continued. To be continued. So many statements, I've done my thing again, but today I'll try to do about 4. Unfortunately, the time is up. I love your show. The subject of Galamsey and the destruction of our environment is also something we must talk about. We did that yesterday. Now, since when did the NCA realize that some media houses were operating without license and no action was taken against them until their lives were lost at Kaswa before they are misleading us? Now, even from Kwabenya, in 2016, Nanado and said Ghana, Ayamo Bododo, we are sitting on money, but the suffering is too much. I want Mr. President, now that he's in charge, has to do something about the suffering Ghanaian. This one, Bosheba says, congratulations to the Sunafun North Member of Parliament, Evans Opoku Bobie, for his appointment as Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports. Mukaila Jones Adia inside Kerry says, Honorable Kennedy Japan is vindicated on this magicians, fake pastors, etc., etc. We have no more time left. We are experiencing these avoidable challenges because our elected and appointed officials refused to do the needful as below. Look at the job tax scientifically to determine that one best way to perform the job, and this is a change from the previous rule of thumb method where the workers devise their own means to do the job. I don't have much time. I'll find time to read this again tomorrow. Edgar Redu is an insurance marketer, and Zuberu Ibrahim is also a senior lecturer at the Accra Technical University. And sorry,
he's got a problem. Use the salary, so you should.
Have they reduced your salary?
My colleagues, a lot of my colleagues.
Oh. And I didn't talk about it.
Don't worry. Next time we'll talk about it.
Who be doing?
Is that who reduces it?
It's about who is doing it.
Bye for now. Abuna says bye for you as well.
Oh my goodness.